Okay, gamers. So this is a video for um a tier that me and my buddies. Well, I'm most people watching this video are probably gonna be those buddies, but this is Black and White Unovadex, which is just Gen 5, but with only Unova Pokemon. Uh, if you're looking at this threat list and you're noticing two Pokemon who aren't here, those are the only two bands that we have that traditional Gen 5 OU does not have. That is Volcarona and Keldeo. Well, I say bands, only two Pokemon bands. We have two extra bands. Well, except one of them is an extension of an unban. So there's no permanent weather, so all of the like speed abilities, the weather speed abilities are no longer restricted. And you can also, what was I saying? Oh, we also have unbanned most sleep moves. Um, because I mean, we figured, new tier, less power. Let's try it out. And so we ended up rebanning a sleep move, and that sleep move is Spore, which is only learned by Amoonguss, and Amoonguss is the only sleep move learned by Amoonguss. So basically, that is a ban on Amoonguss using sleep moves. Um, And then the other band we have is Stealth Rock, because there are only two spinners in the entirety of Unovadex. Well, technically, they're the third one, but it's Drillbur. So your spinners are Excadrill and Cryogonal, and so it just happens so much that Stealth Rocks would go up turn one and never go away, which is kind of how it is in older gens, but just sheer lack of spinners really hurts. So we decided to limit it to just spikes. Wow. Um, and notably, the Stealth Rock ban happened just like a little bit before the Volcarona ban, so you can imagine how that went. Uh, yeah. So I'm just gonna look through every Pokemon, and these three like sort of tiers are loosely ordered, but I think like which tier they're in matters a lot which more than where they are in the tier. Um, so we've got to start with, the goat, Landorus Darien, the mascot of competitive Pokemon, here in the flesh. Um, he is the best Pokemon in the tier. There's no doubt about it. Landorus Darien is the best. Um, and however, he's really actually very manageable. He has the bonkers attack stat, but like really he's not that good offensively. He's just absurdly good defensively, right? And so the most popular set for him is this. So it's like special defensive V's, special defense EVs plus the nature plus the HP it lets you always live a um, modest Chandelure or Thunderous Darien, though that's normally uh, timid HP Ice. And so you have obviously this pretty, nothing to sneeze at amount of special bulk, as well as obviously Intimidate gives you a huge amount of physical bulk. And so this EV spread and with the leftovers single-handedly basically gives you it stops a lot of Pokemon from playing the game. Um, Terrakion, uh, Excadrill, a lot of Pokemon. Crocodile, let's see, a lot of guys. So that's that. For a set for this, you would probably want to do like um, Earthquake first, feels better. U-turn. like just protect Toxic if you just want to commit to being defensive and playing the long game. So you can also you could swap Toxic with like Stone Edge. Toxic gives you the benefit of with Toxic, you know how I said like Landorus Darien prevents a lot of other Pokemon from playing the game? This set kind of also prevents other Landorus Dariens from playing the game, basically regardless of their set. And so this gives you a lot of insurance in terms of making sure that their Lando doesn't walk all over you. You put a time on it with Toxic, but Stone Edge makes you way more useful against basically everything else. Um, you can even keep Toxic and swap Earthquake with Stone Edge. This set runs into some issues though with stuff like you just can't threaten most things except for like um, Thunderous. You can still threaten Chandelure, which is pretty important. Um, but it's worth considering. It's just different type coverage. So the no stab option, it's something. That is not the move I wanted to put there. You can also do something like you can definitely also do like Scarf. I've been trying to put Scarf on a lot of teams. Oh, I should probably mention that very few people play this tier, and we're all pretty bad. And so, like, all of these developments are, very likely to change. So Scarf, you can go like, say, honestly, I forget what 168 gives you. It either barely gives you Terrakion or it barely gives you um, Excelgor. 'Cause Excelgor is a pretty useful Pokemon to outspeed. Let's see, 365, and 260 times 1.5. 390. Okay, this might. Oh my goodness, maybe this gives you. Actually, this probably gives you Scarf Chandelure. I forget. I'm sorry that I'm so useless here, but yeah, 168 is a good number. And most importantly, it also just gives you like a bunch of you get to keep a bunch of HPVs and attack. Right, with this monstrous attack stat, you would feel like, oh, I want to just maximize this so I could just kill everything. The issue is though, it kind of a lot of the time it feels like with this attack stat, um, either you're going to kill it in one hit, or you can't really increase the amount of hits it's going to take to kill something, right? The exception might be like if something is, particularly physically bulky, and like it's making a difference between like 2 turns and 3 turns and stuff like that. But overall, it's just you love to have the utility of the Pokemon lasting a long time. For this, you'd run like obviously you drop Toxic for like Stone Edge, and for the last, um, we've been running Superpower. The math might work out that Hammer Arm is better though, because Superpower doesn't one hit KO Ferrothorn. Remember I was talking about Landers having issues like even with 252 plus, Superpower doesn't one hit KO, and so I think Hammer Arm might be better because you don't drop your own attack, right? And so you can threaten with it more effectively over the course of multiple turns, even if you drop your speed. Um, but I'm not sure. And then the last, like, even remotely reasonable thing is like Swords Dance. No, not Lychee, Yachi. Um, so you can live an Ice type hit, and then for the last thing, you could either do U-turn again, or you can run Double Dance. This set has a lot of issues, right? It's not actually very likely to win you the game, but it is very cool and it's very fun. And you run like, oh, I've got the set somewhere with the amount of EVs you due to outspeed. It's like 8 or something. It's like 92. I have no clue. And it's like max HP. And then this attack stat, right, with the sword stance, it just goes to the moon. No, it's max attack and then it's a bunch of HP. Though actually max HP and a bunch of attack might still be better because you have the sponsorship attack at +2. It's going to kill anything that is threatened by either earthquake or stone edge. I'm not sure. And then you run, I don't know, because you're just murdering I think everything. So that's Language Therian. It is really, really hard to stop it from staying alive and doing 30 to 100 with earthquakes, um, and just having that earthquake to do 30% to basically whatever you have in, and if it's super effective, probably 100, is really, really useful. So yeah, that's why it's the best Pokemon. However, like I said, really not that overbearing. Um, you will grow to love Lando. Um, Thunderous Darien, a lot more offensive, crazy speed. Well, not crazy speed. It's got rather fast speed, and it's got this absurd, bonkers special attack stat that is the envy of all. Um, so you just really the variance on EVs isn't that much. You kind of just want to kill things. So the set that's the most popular, that's been the most popular so far, is Nasty Plot, Thunderbolt, HP Ice, and Focus Blast. And this is really, really good about killing basically anything, given the 2 turns. There's a decent amount of stuff that can switch in and threaten you out with 1-hit KO, but a lot of the time, if you hit the right coverage move, you can shut it down like really effectively. The item can be really, you can kind of do whatever. Leftovers might give you more time to Nasty Plot. You can run Alum for more time to Nasty Plot. You can also run Icicle Plate because remember how I said the defensive Lando set can always live HP Ices from 154 attacks, special attacks? It cannot do that at all, no matter what it does, if the 154 attack, 145 attack has an Icicle Plate. So that's pretty crazy. Um, so this is the most popular thing to do with it, but then you can also run, it doesn't change that much. It's mostly just what the last slot is. You can run like 4 attacks with Volt Switch, try to get more utility. But I think something that has really not been explored too much, but is incredibly good, is Substitute. With Substitute, a lot of the Pokemon who would be able to live a hit or live a hit right if they guessed right on what coverage move you were going to click, and then outspeed and threaten to 1-hit KO you, they like just don't get to do that if you have the free turn to see what you're clicking against with the substitute up. So, you can, like, right, Terrakion easily lives Thunderbolt and Hidden Power Ice. And so if you don't read it and click Focus Blast, it can just switch in for free and threaten you out. But with a substitute up, right, you have the free turn, you can see what's right in front of you, and so you can click your coverage move. And so that's pretty crazy. You can just run like Leftovers or some other just like filler item. You can also, if you really want to get wacky with it and you really want Thunderous Darien to win you the game, you can run, replace Focus Blast with Nasty Plot, and then run like a Salackberry. And so this guy is great at winning games. Catch your opponent just a little bit off guard, and you'll have like 1, 2 nasty plots up, and then you'll be faster than literally everything with just the one boost. You still run timid even with the Thalackberry, just because you still like right. These 3 moves are basically a Thunderstarian set. Like these 3 moves are better than most Pokemon, and so you should keep the EV spread that lets you still pretend to be a completely normal Thunderstarian if you never get the opportunity to start chaining subs for the Thalackberry. Um, so yeah, that's really the main deal with Thunderstarian. Terrakion is so I mentioned that Terrakion does not get to play the game if Landorus is still alive, and that is true. But everything else, like literally almost everything else, loses really hard to Terrakion. Just cannot afford to deal with it, and so that's why it's so high up here. Honestly, I might be giving it too much credit, but it's pretty dang absurd. It's faster than all 3 of the flotilla. I have started calling it because ever since Hydreigon, I started considering it to be worse than Terrakion, right? Because these 3 Pokemon all are floating and weak to ice, and so it's very easy to group them up together. They're all floating, weak to ice, and very good. And it's fast. This Pokemon is faster than all 3 of them, and a lot of other Pokemon. And so you just get to be really happy all the time because you have like close combat and rock slide, and you click these 2 moves, and nothing can get in your way. It's really very nice. And then for the last 2 slots, you can choose to do like 2 more coverage moves, like X Scissor and Earthquake are 2 nice ones. Earthquake gives you more consistency and dealing with things like a Chandelure. You don't have to rely on Rock Slide hitting. An opposing Terrakion, you don't have to drop your defense with close combat. It's just makes things easier for you. And obviously there are a bunch of other Pokemon who are weak to Earthquake that it hits. And then for an item, you just run Life Orb. So something that you can also do with it, just if you want to be a bit cheeky, is you drop some amount of speedy IVs that I forgot. Well, it's whatever amount gives you. I think it's 55 is an illegal thing. It's like 56. Um, I don't think it's 56. I think it's 48? 52? No, 52? I think it's 48. I think 208 plus is the thing you do. And so this with Hidden Power Ice on your physical attacker, because losing to Landorus Darien is just that bad, and it is just that free for your opponent to switch Landorus Darien into you, that if you can then, be able to read that and click Hidden Power Ice, I think this is still guaranteed to 2-hit KO this Landorus Darien. And so if you outspeed, right, kill it, now your mortal enemy is gone. And so this amount of speed IV still lets you outspeed the Darien. It should. Yes. Oh, you can drop to 204. Drop to 2000. Wow. So yeah, you got 56. Wow. So you do this, and this is very nice. You can, instead of doing that, do like Swords Dance. Lets you take advantage of switches a lot. You can run like Leftovers and Protect. Earthquake is the move that I like to drop the most because it doesn't necessarily give you any new winning matchups. It just makes the matchups you already win a little bit more consistent. X Scissor gives you some nice odds versus Brionaclus, and It's a couple other things too, which is nice. It like it makes sure they can't switch to Hydreigon or something, which Earthquake probably could. Um, yeah, all right. Terrakion is very good. I think that's all this. Oh, Choice Scarf. You can just run Choice Scarf, and on Choice Scarf, we've been going adamant. Eventually, the Speed Wars might get to the point where you run Jolly, but for now, you can just run adamant, and this outspeeds even more stuff. It outspeeds basically every other Scarfer, and threatens them really, really hard. It's Chandelure, Bisharp, Crocodile, all of them just fold completely, and most of them also run plus attacking nature, so you have a bit of safety in that in terms of that. Then Hydreigon. Hydreigon is maybe the Pokemon with the most like tenuous situation up here at the top. It's still very, very good. It just kind of competes for team slots a lot of the time, and its typing isn't actually all that good defensively. Um, you'll notice like it's we already had the three Pokemon who are weak to ice, and it's also switched between. There are two other Pokemon who are weak to ice right here in the top three, and then there are also it's switched between two other Pokemon who are also weak to fighting in the top five, and so it just really suffers from the success of all of its peers. Um, and it's the one who kind of probably has the least to offer. Its special attack set isn't quite so monstrous. Its speed just isn't quite there. Um, it does have like really even stats across the board, and it does have nice resistances to like Chandelure's stuff. The stuff Chandelure likes to click. It's both of its stabs. Um, and it kills Reuniclus really nicely, stuff like that. But like I said, suffering from the success of its peers. So what you could do with it is you can go timid or modest. Either way really works because um, you're not outspeeding stuff that wants to be fast a lot of the time, and so it's like, do I really need this? And if you really want to commit to, I don't care. I'm undersped by everything I want to. I'm outsped by everything I want to outspeed anyway. You could just commit to the full HP, and you live hits pretty nicely with that. Um, so you do this, and it's like plus minus, and then you go pretty much always Dark Pulse. Then you can either go Dragon Pulse or Draco Meteor. Draco Meteor, it's it's beautiful, it's a lovely move, but Dragon Pulse is like you can spam it a bit more, obviously. Flamethrower, and then you always run Flamethrower because you love killing Therathorn. Killing Ferrothorn super consistently and generally always having a nice stab type to hit whatever it switches to with is one of the main draws of Hydreigon. And so you basically always run this. And then for the last move, I've been liking Roost the most. You can kind of leverage the okay bulk a bit. You can try to run coverage. I don't even know what you would run. I guess probably like HP Ice. You could also run Earth Power, and I think you also have something. Yeah, you have Surf. That's what I was thinking about. Surf can hit some cool stuff. Notably, Surf hits. Crap. Notably, Surf hits um, Lando, and it hits Chandelure, which is a nice combination of Pokemon to hit and murderize. For item, you can go Life Orb or you can go Leftovers. Both of them it really benefits from, because I've sort of been alluding to it having half decent bulk, and so like with Leftovers and Roost, you can actually kind of like really stick around for a while solidly. And so the issue is just like everything has coverage for it, right? And so you don't feel as long lasting as you'd like to, regardless. And so leftovers, but everything wants to be able to take chip on the cheek, and it doesn't have that many other items it's really competing for. You can maybe try to run Scarf with it. I think I have a set where it runs Scarf, but I just haven't actually played any games with it. Boom. So Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn is right. It's Ferrothorn. You know what it does. It walls everything. It has a bajillion defense in it, and it has spikes. Um, so Ferrothorn is I forgot to mention sort of that Landorus variant definitely suffers from its own success in the fact of, everything loves running a hidden power ice. Ferrothorn kind of has the same, but it's just a lot. There's just a bunch of other stuff that is also weak to fighting type coverage, and so and then fire type coverage. You've got Chandelure right here and Hydreigon right there, always threatening you. And Terracion's stab is brutal. So that makes it a bit scary to use, especially because some other Pokemon will use you as setup fodder, especially Reuniclus, Scrafty, and substitute Tornadus, right? Um, so you can reduce that with Gyro Ball. Um, so with what was I gonna say? So you run spikes. If you have leftovers, you protect is really nice. It's just very safe move to click, and it really breaks down like choiced Pokemon. Like if your opponent tries to break your choice Pokemon, I have Ferrothorn and Chandelure together. They go really nicely together against any choice Pokemon, right? Because what are Ferrothorn's two weaknesses? Fire and fighting, and Chandelure with Flash Fire has immunities to both of those, and so a lot of Pokemon who are like, oh, I have this huge breaking power with a choiced item. Ferrothorn and Chandelure can just go, no, you don't. I'm going to click Protect. I'm going to go Chandelure. Um, and I got my Spike up for free, and now I have Chandelure in, which is very scary for your opponent. Um, so yeah, and then you can run so Protect if you have leftovers, and sometimes even if you don't have leftovers. Leech or Toxic. So Leech Seed gives you the extra longevity, and it also hits Steel types. A lot of the Pokemon who will want to set up on you either are running Alum, like I mentioned that Thunderstarian will run Alum sometimes, or are Steel types. And so Leech Seed can mitigate that a bit on top of giving you more longevity if you want to try to 1v1 the Pokemon. Or giving, whatever you switch to, the extra longevity. Gyro Ball is pretty consistently the preferred attack. It hits so much more stuff than uh, Power Whip does. I mean, looking at these Pokemon, Power Whip hits literally none of them super effectively except for Terrakion, who Gyro Ball also hits super effectively. So right, it's a lot better. You can get some pretty crazy calcs even with no attack investment with this because a lot of stuff is so dang fast. Um, so a lot of the sets I've been running are like just going all in on defense. This way that like not max attack and even like a lot of max attack Landos can't break through you while you set up your spikes and stuff and just do your thing. And also, being physically defensive is good because they have the contact moves and you have Iron Barbs. For an item, leftovers is obviously the big one. It's the biggest one. You should default to leftovers, but people do run the Rocky Helmet for like the funny double chip thing on contact, and it's decent. It's good. And then and then I think another really good option is Choppleberry. Don't bother with what's the one for fire? Is fire Akka? Yes. don't bother with Akka. You're not going to live the hit. You're not going to threaten whatever it just attacked you super effectively back. Um, just stick to Choppel if you're trying to run this sort of surprise set. Because remember, so one of the favorite Pokemon to threaten you out with fighting type coverage is Terrakion, who Gyro Ball hits really hard. Thunderous Therian has Focus Blast, and so with this you would run a bit of special defense, and you can break its substitutes, right? You can sort of scout for substitutes by staying in against it and gyro balling, and it can never, even if you don't run any special defense investment, it can't kill you with one Focus Blast. It has to run, it has to hit 2 Focus Blasts, which obviously you're in favor for. So a lot of them will try to do Nasty Plot Focus Blast, which with Choppleberry, obviously that reduces the effectiveness of that a lot. Then you click, so Gyro Ball with no attack investment will break a sub. And if you really want to go crazy with it, you can run Explosion so that after its sub is broken, it'll realize that it can't keep subbing up on you because you're going to keep breaking its subs. And then you will, then it will stop subbing up and you will explode on it. And it'll be great. You can also explode on other things. And Explosion isn't as big of a sacrifice on, obviously you want, this Pokemon is supposed to stick around for a long time. It's supposed to get spikes up, but it's not as much of a, an issue because you're not running leftovers. You're not getting all that like juicy longevity that you would get with Lefties Protect, you know? So it's not like this, you would probably drop Protect and you could run like, honestly, I don't know. I had Leech Seed originally so that you do get some longevity, and I also thought at the time that you needed the chip for switching, but you don't need the chip. So I don't know what I would run with this. Maybe like knockoff. Maybe you run like T-Wave, maybe you run Toxic. I don't know. You could just run whatever you want. You could do whatever you want forever. I'm gonna drink some water. And then we're gonna talk about Chandelure. Chandelure is really good. It's really dang good. It has this bonkers special attack stat, right? The same special attack stat that Thunderous Darien has on significantly less speed, right? That's scary. Your stats across the board are kind of lower than Thunderous Darien's, but Ghost Fire is a lot better of a stab combination than Electric and Flying. And so, so if you play like current gen, like Gen 8, Gen 9, which I only do a little bit, so this might be totally wrong. Dragapult, well, like, you know how it like leverages its humongous speed and access to Shadow Ball and a powerful stab move that does the Draco Meteor / overheat thing. It leverages all those good traits to sort of make up for the fact that it kind of has to be choice specs. Chandelure does that, but with leveraging its massive special attack stat to make up for the fact that it kind of has to be scarfed. So you run Modest gives you just absurd numbers, and then you run like Overheat, Shadow Ball, Hit Power Ice, and so for the last, you can either just run Flamethrower so that you can be a little bit more consistent against some stuff. So like for instance, if you switch in against a Thunderous Therian substitute, the only way you can like break it and then kill. Actually, you might be able to do that with Shadow Ball. I changed my mind. But generally, right, you don't like clicking Shadow Ball, locking yourself into Shadow Ball as much. And so, and then if Shadow Ball doesn't do the calc that I think it does, I can check. I'm gonna check, screw it. No. This is Mysterian, and just slap. substitute on it. Well, I guess it doesn't matter, the substitute is on it. So yeah, you don't guaranteed kill after breaking a sub. Actually, none of these do. Dang. Chandelure kind of sucks. Um, so yeah, literally 35%. 87% chance to, yeah. But Shadow Ball can't do it, and you really Hidden Power Ice is by far your least favorite move to lock into without like guaranteed value. Right? You just break the substitute, and so Flamethrower can catch a lot more stuff. Flamethrower generally threatens the Pokemon who might want to Pursuit Trap you more, because Chandelure is weak to Pursuit Trapping, pretty significantly so. Um, though it does, it's so powerful generally, it's so dang strong that you can, if you aren't forced to lock into a move that you don't like, then a lot of the time you can kind of kill them before you actually get they get the Pursuit Trap off, which is very nice. Um, so if you don't want to run this, which I definitely do normally recommend if you're running Chandelure, you should run this, right? You can run like I was talking about with the Lefties Protect Ferrothorn, that's like max defense, and then you just run the Chandelure. That gives you tons of potential. Um, like this overheat, it raises down nations, dude. Uh, so if you don't want necessarily to run Choice Scarf, I don't know why I deleted all the moves. You can run Sash, and so Sash, it's really scary if there are like spikes on the field and stuff. But what it does give you, and it's not very good as a lead because of Excelgor, which also runs Sash, and will get chip on you, and will like it'll outspeed you and you turn. Though it's probably afraid to do that because, well, it might be good for lead. I'm not sure. um, so the main thing that Focus Sash gives you is you lure and KO other Chandelures very effectively, right? You click Overheat, and your opponent switches to their Chandelure, and you're like, oh no, you caught me locking into Overheat. It gets Dark Pulse? Dang, that's good. Um, and now you're gonna click Shadow Ball against me, and you're gonna outspeed me, and you're gonna click Shadow Ball against me, and you're gonna kill me. No, you don't kill me. I click Shadow Ball and I kill you because I wasn't choice locked the whole time. Um, and there's a very funny thing that can happen. It's the Chandelure Overheat Gambit, the Flash Fire Gambit, where you switch your Chandelure in on an opposing Chandelure's Overheat, and it's choice locked, and you are also choice scarfed, but you have yet to click a move. Um, where you try to leverage the fact that your opponent just locked into a move that you're immune to, and click a move that it's immune to, thinking that it's going to swatch out. Then you blast whatever switches in with overheat. And if they do that and you're focus sash, you just won for free. They don't even know you're sash still. You still have a sash, and they just switched into um, they just switched into overheat. You know. Um, Wait, and your opponent will switch into, whatever you have, right? You still get to bluff choice scarf. I just said a bunch of words there for like a minute that I think I totally regret. At least I just wasn't thinking about very hard. And for this, you can even afford to like start running Will-O-Wisp, because you get to switch. But 80 is not a very good speed tier, and so you are you are sacrificing a lot. You lose really hard to sash. You benefit a lot from wish support, like a Alomomola wish support, which is nice, which is cute. Um, but it's not the most reliable thing in the world. And so I don't know. Maybe Chandelure lead is the goat. Like sash Chandelure lead is the goat. It can deny Excelgor as a spike probably, but that's yet to be tested. Excelgor. So Excelgor spares Unova, the entire region of Unova, from the sheer shame of having Pharaoh Seed be the second best spiker. Because Excelgor is actually a really good spiker. Um, it's absurdly fast. I typed in the 156 earlier. So what this does is it outspeeds every single other legal Pokemon, all of them, no matter what they do, except for Meloetta Pirouette, because Meloetta Pirouette is almost as fast, but it's also not quite legal. It's hard to get to happen, and you're normally not necessarily going to be using Excelgor against Meloetta Pirouette. It's not a very popular thing. You can probably even drop even more speed IVs, honestly. Um, the next Pokemon down is Chinchino, which is not the best. It's decent, it's workable, but it's not the best. So you could drop way, way down probably. I don't know what your right. You could run like always outspeeding Terrakion. This is true scarf, but I just want to check. 346. Yeah, you can go all the way down to 84. The issue is that you don't. There's not that much more that you like really care about outspeeding. Then you run max special attack, and then you run max HP. Uh, you're not living hits. I mean, 40, 60, right? But you do have it does give you a pretty strong final gambit, which is cute. And final gambit hits a lot of things. And the original reason that Excalibur kind of came to attention is this Bug Buzz generally one hit KOs Hydreigon. It's actually not guaranteed if you don't have like an expert belt or an insect plate. Um, but it is, very likely. It's likely enough that you really don't want Hydreigon in on Excelgor. Um, and you've got a Sash. You have a really, really fast U-turn. I forgot U-turn is like basically Spike's U-turn is mandatory on. Actually, I didn't Spike, so I'm about to talk about how Spikeless score is a real thing. Uh, U-turn is mandatory. If you're using Excelgor and you're not using its absurdly fast U-turn, um, you're not using Excelgor. You're using some other weird, mysterious Pokemon that has yet to be invented. Um, and so, but you can run Spikeless Gore. It gets a lot of moves that really benefit from being shot off with fast Pokemon at Yawn, Encore, uh, any hidden power type you want. Ice is really good. Fire hits Ferrothorn, which otherwise gives Excelgor some issues, right? Because Ferrothorn, because it's really passive, it kind of has some issues getting up all the spikes it wants. But Excelgor is in certain situations just as passive, right? You don't threaten it very hard enough with Final Gambit to be worth your life. Yawn could maybe threaten it even if you have spikes, but Ferrothorn kind of does half of its job even if it's asleep. Real talk. That was a sentiment that was pretty significant when Spore was still running around here. So if you want to run Spikeless Gore, you run a hidden power type, uh, and then you run like Bug Buzz is pretty good. Maybe you don't even want Bug Buzz. I mean, Bug Buzz is really nice just to have stab that is most of the time it's neutral. Uh, kind of. It's not the best stab move, but it is stab, and all other stuff might be even worse. Like, right, Focus Blast might not be that much better. If Hogwarts gets Pursuit, dang, it's not gonna be a Pursuit driver, but that's cool. I guess that. Sludge Bomb, maybe Sludge Bomb would do something. I don't know. Uh, but generally, Bug Buzz is just for the best. So you still have that winning Hydreigon matchup. It also hits Rhinoculus pretty dang hard, and there definitely are Pokemon who don't use that hard back, that having good neutral stab is good against. Like a Lomomola is actually threatened out by Excelgor, especially at least if it's not mixed bulk. Um, and so that's good to do. And that's really all Excelgor does. I have not uh, no matter like how much you do with Excelgor, like 156 Gore is such a beautiful EV spread that like you can have any amount of crazy set utility. I think I've kind of already mentioned the 3 items you run. You run Sash, so that you can guarantee to get your spike. You run Expert Belt, if you want your hidden power type to be better. Then you run Insect Plate, um, if you want Block Bust to be stronger, which can be useful even if you're running a hidden power type. Because like I said, good neutral stab. There's one last thing that Excalibur can do, and that is if you are trying to do Rain, because Excalibur is the best Pokemon at setting stuff on the field. No, Damp Rock. It holds a Damp Rock and it sets Rain Dance. It also happens to get Hydration, but that does not matter at all. You run it for like the meme because its abilities aren't. I forgot to talk about abilities completely. Actually, this is basically the first book one that has a choice of ability, so we're fine. Shadow Tag isn't legal. Flame Body, obviously, right, it's useful. But because you're so scared of Weather Chandelure, a lot of the time you're probably going to run Flash Fire. Someone might start using Flash Body though. I wouldn't put it past people. For your ability, you run Sticky Hold if you aren't running Sash. If you are running Sash, you run Unburden generally, which basically never comes into play, right? You're faster than everything. The Scarfers, which you're not faster than, are generally the types of Pokemon that you don't threaten in return. But one day, right, that Scarfer is going to just really wreck your stuff. That Scarfer or that like Dragon Dance Sweeper is really going to be wrecking you, and you just need that last little bit of damage. And Focus Touch will come into play one day, which none of the other abilities ever will. But if you're running Damp Rock, you might as well run Hydration for the meme. Then you U-turn or Final Gambit in order to switch into your other Pokemon, your Rain Abusers, because you have to use Manual Weather in Gen 5. Isn't that crazy? So we're getting to the last two Pokemon of this, like, staples tier, I've been sort of thinking of them as. Reuniclus, don't be tempted by Regenerator. Maybe someone could find a good use for it, but Magic Guard is too absurdly busted and good. It gives you basically free entry, like free foreverness, free setup on Ferrothorn and Alomomola and every Pokemon you could ever dream of. And so speaking of setup, the most popular thing to do with Reuniclus is this with Calm Mind. And Calm Mind, Psychic, no, Psychic, Focus Blast, and Recover. Recover gives you consistent recovery, run leftovers, and this will just randomly win you the game sometimes. It can be hard to make effective use of if it's not winning you the game, but the set, right? I mean, it's just got a big, strong stab Psychic. And then if you don't want to like have that commitment of like, oh crap, I have to find a way to maneuver this guy in to win the game, you just run max special attack and then like 3 attacks. And this is really good at threatening stuff out effectively and like just you've got a really big HP stat and decent defenses, and so you can do a lot of living one hit and blasting through something, and it can be pretty rough to deal with. What's attack you on? It's Hidden Power Ice, of course. If you're ever at a loss for what move to put on something, you should consider Hidden Power Ice. It threatens stuff out. It threatens really good Pokemon, right? Excadrill. So Excadrill, you might have noticed it's fallen a lot compared to Gen 5 OU, like traditional Gen 5 OU. It's got the rather unfortunate case of being a butch without her femme. Um, and even being one of two rapid spinners can't really save it that much. So that's so sad. Um, Notably, it loses pretty hard to a lot of Pokemon, right? Ferrothorn. It gets a spin off against Ferrothorn, but it's just like scary to be in against it. It gets all of its spikes up back on you. You if you rapid spin on it, you eat chip. Um, Chandelure threatens you really hard, and it also outspeeds you. I think. No, it doesn't. Why did I say that it outspeeds you? Dang, that's crazy. I was totally. Oh, you know what it is? You know why? So it outspeeds you with Scarf, and if you're running Scarf, you can't spin. You can't spin thinking it's going to switch in. Right? You have to predict that it's going to switch in because you're Scarfed. And you run Scarf because you get outsped by Hydreigon, which kills you, Terrakion, which kills you, Thundurus Therian, which kills you, Landorus Therian, which kills you. Which, well, Landorus Therian doesn't like to run speed all that often unless it's being Scarfed or trying to win the game. But guess what? Landorus Therian walls you, and it can set up to try to win the game against you. And so, yeah, Tree Scarf is pretty useful on it. And so, obviously, you run Rapid Spin. You're not running Excadrill if you're not running Rapid Spin. If you want to, don't. You run Earthquake. You run Iron Head. And Sand Rush is like, it's cute. You can kind of try to like set sand for yourself, or you can have another Pokemon set sand for you and try to do the Excadrill thing, but it's just not very consistent at all or good. So you just run Mold Breaker, and that lets you hit. Actually, Mold Breaker. I think Mold Breaker lets you beat Iron Barb, so you can Rapid Spin on it. And also it lets you Earthquake Hydreigon, which is very good. Hydreigon and Cryogonal, who is the other contender for spinning, and it loses pretty hard to Excadrill. Though Cryogonal, um, honestly, I'm not too sure of Excadrill being better than Cryogonal. Like Cryogonal, notably Cryogonal doesn't lose to the Flotilla. You know, it doesn't lose to these three Pokemon. But Excadrill definitely does, right? It definitely gets walled by it. It's competing for a slot with Rakion in terms of being a physically offensive Pokemon that loses to Landorus Therian. And Cryogonal isn't. Cryogonal does totally different stuff. It kind of does something that no other Pokemon can, even without spinning. And so I might be tempted to drop Excadrill and not include him in this tier. But if you want to see Excadrill, you'll have Excadrill. Excadrill's so cool. I mean, look at her. She's so cute. And then you run like Rock Slide. You don't care. Rock Slide isn't. You don't. You don't hit the threshold that you want to hit with Rock Slide, but you can click it. It's decent. You can run X Scissor maybe. You can try to kill Reuniclus. You can try to kill Hydreigon. Wouldn't that be nice? You can try it. Then you run Adamant because I mean this is a really bonkers attack set, right? X control is good, despite all of the complaining about it that I just did. And you kill stuff. You revenge kill and like threaten stuff out really effectively. If Landorus Therian isn't alive, if Landorus Therian is alive, you don't get to do anything except probably maybe Rapid Spin. That's really sad. Poor Excadrill. Imagine a little tear falling down her cheek, her mole cheek. Tornadus time. Tornadus is the last Pokemon that I'm probably gonna cover because I've been talking for way too long. Let me drink some water actually. I'll try to do other videos with the other two boxes that I had there. But Tornadus has two very important things going for it. Actually, it really just has one very important thing going for it, which is that it's the fastest good Pokemon. It's the fastest Pokemon that is that threatens stuff better than Excelgor does. Except for Chinchino, but Chinchino is a different case. Chinchino is very sad. You will be tempted to try to run like, oh wow, it's got Prankster, I can do all these cool things with it. No, you can't. You're not going to do that. What you're going to do is you're going to run Hurricane, you're going to run Heat Wave to threaten out Ferrothorn and some other stuff like Excadrill and stuff. You're going to run Hidden Power Ice. You're going to run U-Turn. You might say, "Oh man, but I'm wasting Prankster." And what's my other ability? Defiant? I'm a special attacker. You run Defiant, and you accept that you sometimes get +1 and +2 even U-turns, and you be happy that you have an ability that comes in handy sometimes. Uh, and then right, you're running max plus minus. Got a pretty decent attack stat. Actually, I'll talk about the other interesting set you can run with Tornadoes. Then for an item, so right, Life Orb looks tempting here, and it is tempting and it's good. But like I just never really noticed it giving me like in the calc I never really noticed it giving me good thresholds. And so what I do like to run is wide lens because no, if Tornadus um had a good stab move that wasn't Hurricane, it would be like absurdly broken, but it doesn't. It has to use Hurricane, which is a flying type move, and B, only 70% accurate. But you can kind of make up for at least one of the things with wide lens. And it also means that you're probably not going to miss Heat Wave, which is nice. You also have access to Focus Blast, but you it's not the best move to be clicking blindly. Um, and also you two-hit KO Terrakion with anyways, and you outspeed it, and so your opponent's probably not switching to Terrakion, which is cool, right? It's nice. So the other thing I was mentioning, there's another wacky set you could run with Tornadoes, and that is you keep Defiant, and so you'll notice its attack stat isn't that much lower than its special attack stat, and so you run uh max attack or like 252 attack, and then you run Lychee Berry, and you do substitute bulk up, um, acrobatics, heat wave. Um, and so like a plus, do you get nasty plot? I have to know. You don't. Okay, good to know that I'm not just totally running a worse set than like a nasty plot set. Uh, so with this, you sub down. You might be tempted. You might say, look, Dahlia, look. You have non-attacking move. You can run Prankster. No, don't run Prankster because while you're subbing down, you want to figure out what Scarfer your opponent is running. Okay. Um, Actually, this is the set that gave me the inspiration for that made me realize how good sub 4 attacks Thunderous Therian would be. So you run, uh, right, you sub down, you bulk up if you get the extra turn on the switch. And because you're so fast, you don't need to really boost your speed that much. If your opponent's still running, like if your opponent has an Excelgor who's still alive, right, you do kind of still die. But you it definitely doesn't switch in on you, and so you get at least one kill. Um, and so you sweep with acrobatics after you sub down to Lychee. Maybe you have a Define up, and maybe you have a bulk up. Either way, you're at +2, and a +2 acrobatics really does threaten the whole world. Um, it 1 or 2 hit KOs literally everything. And by literally everything, I am including Ferrothorn. It's that crazy. So because it's a neutral hit, so you're 2-hit KOing Ferrothorn. The reason you run Heat Wave, even though it doesn't 1-hit KO anymore because you don't have max special attack, the reason you're running Heat Wave is really just because you have nothing better to run in this last slot, and you don't want to eat Iron Barb's chip. What you might want to do, what I might recommend instead, if you don't mind eating Iron Barb's chip, because I believe you can right after you sub down to your Lychee Berry, if you stay at that 25%, you can still eat 2 Iron Barb's hits and still live. Actually, when I was talking about how Excelgor still kills you, it might only do that if you've eaten the 2 Iron Barb's chips. Because uh, yeah, that's all I remember. So you do that. Um, so you have the heat wave, and you accept that you're gonna eat 2 things of iron barbs chip, and you run agility to see if you get a second extra turn, you're at +2. Literally nothing will ever outspeed you. Um, you get the bulk up, you get the and you just really, really try to win off of acrobatics. And this set is funny, and it will kill something. It'll get your opponent. It'll get their goose, and it's funny. And so that's something you can run. Uh, and I don't know, maybe you can uh run prankster. Maybe you run like prankster taunt, I guess, if you want to deny Excelgor's spike. But Excelgor doesn't like to stay in on you anyways. Um, because you're threatening it super effectively and it values its life. Um, and also because everyone will now know about the awesome sub lychee set for Tornadus, and therefore be scared of you subbing up while it spikes up. So yeah, that's Tornadus, and that's all of the staples. And then I'll make another video with these guys.